your hometown solutions, where we talk about everything that concerns your real estate, your family, your finances, your home, your garden, your garage. And in the studios with me today, I'm your host, Jean Newell, with Waterview Realty, and I also have my two co-hosts sitting right here beside me, Carolyn Wolf with Certified Mortgage Planners. Hello, Carolyn.
Hi, Jean. Pleasure to be back.
Well, I'm glad to have you right here by my side. Also, my other co-host is our famous, Jonathan Lack from Lack & Lack Chartered, attorneys at law, and he specializes in real estate. Jonathan Lack also owns Waterview Realty as well as Waterview Title, so we always have a lot to talk about concerning your real estate. And before we introduce our guests, Carolyn and John, let's talk a little bit about what's happening in real estate. Mortgage rates, we're still getting mortgages. I still can't believe that people aren't lined up to buy real estate. It seems like the mortgage rates are still fairly low, and we've got some really great news on that. But I think it's because we don't have a lot of inventory. What are you seeing? Getting more calls, or is your calls stopping, or what's happening, Carolyn?
Well, actually, in the mortgage business, and before I do talk, I need to give out my NMLS number.
That's right.
License number is 268538. And I have definitely been seeing an uptick in production. You're right, though. It does seem like a lot of people are having to battle for finding home purchases. You know, they're getting outbid on different properties, but mortgage interest rates are still fantastic. We have had a little bit of volatility, but not very much at all. Still well below the 5%, which is fantastic in today's market.
And before we go any further, go ahead and give out your information on how people can get a hold of you. Because if you happen to be driving or you're listening to this on a podcast, you might want to get her phone number, and you can play it back or jot it down right now. What is your phone number and your contact information?
Okay, it's Carolyn Wolf, and my phone number is 321-795-9103. You can also reach me at www.floridalending.com. pro.com.
I like that. In fact, a lot of people, again, we want to make sure that everyone has heard this before, that Carolyn Wolf is a mortgage broker, not a banker. And in fact, I just sent some information off to one of my clients explaining the difference. And that made that they called you because of explaining the difference. So let's give everyone that's listening out there that maybe missed those past shows a little tidbit on what the difference is between a mortgage banker and a broker.
Okay. Well, the difference between being a mortgage broker is we are licensed and tested. But the big difference is lenders have their specific guidelines. We all have to adhere to the government guidelines. But each individual lender can see fit to add additional guidelines. So not everybody fits in the niche for each specific bank. So what we do is we have a group of lenders that we can deal with. For example, we have at least 20 that we deal with. So if a borrower doesn't fit in with one lender, I can put them with a different lender. So it gives them a wide variety. Plus, if they have different choices as well to fit their needs. So that's the biggest difference, is the variety that we can offer.
And I know you see this all the time, where someone might say to the real estate agent, oh, I thought I was going to be able to get qualified for a mortgage, but my bank turned me down. Well, and they give up because they think nobody else wants me. If my own bank doesn't want me, where I have my checking account, my money market, and everything else, then why bother? But the banks sometimes only have one or two products, and they can't find a wide variety. And if you start shopping, listeners, if you start going to bank to credit unions and so forth, and you keep going, you have to keep applying. And every time you apply, you have to fill out the application, and they do a credit check. And even though that may or may not do a ding to your credit, it's not good to have so many people checking your credit.
Correct.
When you go through Carolyn, she has all these different sources, and sometimes it's the same source you might go to anyway, but she runs your credit one time, and then she's able to shop.
That's correct.
That's what I like, is the fact that they don't one-stop shop.
Yes, and I have helped quite a few people who have been turned down by their bank.
Exactly. One of the things that, I don't think we've ever discussed this, one of the things that has been apparent to a couple people that I know is if you get your mortgage through the bank where you have a checking account, in the small print in your mortgage, it'll say we have the right to take the payment or get paid if you have another account with us. I mean, it's written such that you may not have even noticed it. So if by chance or something happens and they decide, oh, you didn't make your payment, maybe you did, but it didn't go through, they can go into another source that you have at the bank and take it out of that source. All of a sudden, your checking account gets all out of whack.
Wow.
Because they have the right to go in there. So, just as another little tip, don't have your mortgage where you bank, because I've seen that happen on people accidentally and so forth, and it becomes a kind of a big mess. But anyway, mortgage broker is the way to go. Carolyn Wolf, you're a live person with a real brick and mortar office. People can come see you. They can sit down, and you can analyze what their situation is.
Right.
And that is such a key because, again, we've talked about this in other shows, but it bears repeating that you can only find the right kind of mortgage if you know the whole circumstances and exactly what their plans are for that home. So we really appreciate all of your knowledge. Was there any other thing that we always try to give them a little tip, about how to, what's the word we always say about your money, how to... I can't think of the word. Keeping your money in the bank long enough to really
season
it.
Season your money.
I couldn't think of the word. Season your money.
Yes.
So
2 months bank statements is what we look for generally, as far as your down payment and closing costs. And if it's just normal deposits, you're fine. So just keep it seasoned and don't put any deposits that can't be trailed into your account, and you'll be fine.
I notice we get a lot of people from the north, and they come down here, and maybe they were working with one of the companies up north that maybe could get them a mortgage, but it's so much easier to work with someone local because you always need paperwork, and it's easier to get things to a local person as opposed to an online.
Correct.
So that's some of the things. Jonathan Lack, let's get in the conversation here.
Yes, Jean. And I want to say, I'm glad to be back because I've been out for a little while, so it's nice to be back on the air. And do want to give the plug to Carolyn and the mortgage broker banker thing because, as you pointed out, having a one-stop shop and being able to do one application and get a loan as opposed to shopping around yourself is very valuable. With that said, I want to segue into the benefits of using a broker, and we do have on site today Len Della Rocca with Space Coast Benefits Company. And Jean, I'll let you do some of the intro of Len, but we definitely want to cover the benefit of using a broker. The same with the mortgage broker world. It applies to many different worlds, and Len can elaborate on the benefits of using his benefit company.
Exactly. And a lot of people think if I use a mortgage broker or a real estate broker or an insurance broker, it means they've got more information. They've gone to more schooling and so forth, and they can have their own office. It doesn't cost you more to go through a broker, and sometimes it ends up costing you a lot less.
Absolutely.
So thank you, Jonathan, for the start of our intro. And we want to welcome to your Hometown Solutions, Len Della Rocca. Hello, Len. Thank you for joining us today.
Hey, Jean. Thanks for having me. I'm very happy to be here.
Well, we're happy to have you here because this is an informational program and we want to make sure people know all the various types of insurance. So get your pencil, get your paper. You might want to take some notes. To start off with, Len, go ahead and give out your contact information, the name of your company, and we'll have that on record so people can write that down right now.
Sure. It's Space Coast Benefits Company, and the phone number is 321-288-5575. And my email address is len@spacecoastbenefits, and that's benefits plural with an S.com. And my website is spacecoastbenefits.com.
So tell us a little bit about your company and the benefits to the benefits. What's the benefit to your benefits? What kind of services can you provide that perhaps independent agencies might not be able to help our listeners?
Well, the biggest thing is I'm the owner. If you go through an agency, many times you'll be working with an agent. Not that that's bad, because there's some very good agents out there. But I actually put my heart and soul into my business, and just like an agency owner would put their heart and soul into their business. An agent is very good at what they do, but they're less invested.
You know, I was doing a little research, and you've also provided some information to us that you really are there to help the underdog, maybe the small business owner, or perhaps some people that are, again, they're getting turned down from insurance and the Obamacare. Do you want to make some comment on health insurance a little bit? I know we could probably talk for 4 hours just on each individual types of insurance, but what you're finding with the Obamacare, what you see as a benefit, what you do, what your anticipation is on what's going to happen with the new Trumpocare. I don't know what we're going to call it.
you got about
the Donald-ocare.
That's a conversation our congressmen and senators can't even answer. There's a lot going on. It's not a very comfortable position for me to be in if I'm only making money at being a broker for health insurance. But the bottom line is, you mentioned that I support the underdog, and I've always been that way. My business is built on small businesses and small customers and the individual's needs, not on large companies where you have 100 employees. And I just never went after those companies. I like working with people that need help, and it makes me feel good that when I walk out of the meeting with a customer, that I leave them in a better position.
Well, I'm curious, what kind of benefits do you provide to the small business owner, and is there any distinction between a sole proprietor who might have some employees versus an incorporated or an LLC type company? Is there any difference between the two?
I can support the sole proprietor that has a small business with 5-10 employees. That's just their choice not to incorporate.
Right.
But
so there's no necessary distinction in that regard.
None at all. Doing business for a small business person, and let's just take, for example, the trades, for example. You've worked on ACs your whole life, and now you want to go into business, and you open up an AC company. You've never been trained how to do payroll. You've never been trained how to manage people, how to fire people, how to hire people. You've never been trained on all the details, the administrative details that operate in the background. You know how to turn the wrench and fix that AC and put a few parts on and make it work. So what I do is I look at a small business owner, and I look at the big picture. I have a lot of experience in management. 22 years in corporate level, relatively high level, and I understand what should be there and what shouldn't be there. So I help these small guys out and identify options that can save them some money. I might see something in a small business that, payroll, for example. I may walk into my customer, and my customer is beating his head against the wall trying to make his payroll come out and make sure that he's not overpaying or underpaying people. Mm-hmm. And that takes a lot of time, and it's very frustrating. Wouldn't you rather be working on your ACs? Mm-hmm. Wouldn't you rather be making $1 rather than spending it administratively? I can come in and help you solve that problem.
Exactly. And that's usually what happens. Whatever you're good at doing, then you think, oh, I'm so good at being an artist or a painter, I think I'll open up a shop. And you never paint again because you're too busy doing the administrative work and doing the other things. So if you can always get that to the proper sources, it's much easier to do what you're good at doing, which is why you started the business.
It's not as glamorous as some people think it is.
The administrative parts of owning a business are the part I hate the most. So exactly. The ability to farm that out to someone such as yourself, it entices me greatly. Some of the issues that you don't think of when you're opening a new business, as you say, just the simple personnel matters.